All right, guys, welcome back to the second half of the tournament. For today, we have Heretic Nation versus I Kill You, which is Dead Terrorist. What do you think about these setups?
Hey, this is Kill2, by the way, joining the broadcast. I think this is going to be pretty interesting. We've been talking about drones a lot today, and Dead Terrorists have brought 4 Ishtars, which is certainly something we haven't seen so far. Something a little more typical from the Heretic Nation side, bringing 6 Cyclones, 2 Slipners, and a Basilisk with some Frag support. And the Ishtars, of course, have some Frag support too also. Some Assault Frigs and then a couple Maulus.
Yeah, what's really interesting is on the screen here, you see the I Kill You team warp in at max range, 50 kilometers. What you're going to see is these ships trying to burn in range of these Ishtars. They're going to drop sentries, get DPS on those frigates that are burning towards them, get a lot of that utility power from those frigates, and a lot of the DPS off the field from those smaller ships just from the sentries, that alpha volley.
Yep, and we're underway now. And speaking of those sentries, bouncers are out already for Dead Terrorists, as you say. And yeah, you guys should have been able to see the ranges, but there's probably a good 30, 40K-ish between the teams at the start of the match. But those ranges will close quick. The Minotaur ship's pretty fast, of course. No frigs going down due to sentries early, like you said, but that kind of makes sense to me. All the frigs have to do is kind of burn to the side, which is what they did, rather than straight at the a Dead Terrorist team, and they shouldn't have any trouble with that.
Yeah, what's surprising is they put all their initial DPS on that, I believe, Cyclone, Griznidal. Yeah, they put all the DPS originally on Griznidal and then swapped off them to the frigates. I think if they would have done that first, they would have gotten at least 2 frigates down before they got into range.
All right, so 1 frig down, lost the Tyrannus already for Heretic Nation, and the Dead Terrorist Ishtar, first Dead Terrorist Ishtar, is in really bad shape. Armor tanked, of course, supported by the Damnation and the Oneros, but he's well, he's starting to stabilize, actually. He went real quick down to about half armor, maybe some delay getting logistics to him, and now he's tanking just fine, whereas that Cyclone Griznadal hurting pretty bad.
Yeah, unlike a turret-type ship, these Ishtars are drone boats. They don't have to have those low slots devoted to mag stabs or gyro stabilizers to increase the damage of their turrets. So they allow to use all those low slots for tank. So they definitely have the huge EHP with the Tech 2 resistances as well, being an Ishtar.
So another frig down for, sorry, the Cyclone did go down for Heretic Nation. Second Tyrannus about to go down as well. There he goes. So still no kills on Dead Terrorist side. That Ishtar recovering. I wonder if the initial amount of damage he took was just delay as the Oneros realized that was what he was going to need to get the reps on.
Yeah, you're seeing newts being spread across the field from the Ishtars with their utility high slots. This drone setup is actually doing quite well. I think the starting range of 50K is giving them a huge advantage, being able to get that 1 frigate down and then just getting DPS applied across the field. As you see, these Cyclones are just getting volleyed straight into or straight through the shields, and I mean they're really taking a lot of damage on these Cyclones.
Yeah, I mean it's working out perfectly for them having those sentry drones. The initial ones they dropped, those bouncers still on the field. Second Cyclone for Heretic Nation down and structured. There he goes, and that first Ishtar for Dead Terrorist starting to switch. Yeah, that's actually a target switch. Is that the second Ishtar? They switched off the first one?
They did switch off the first one.
Okay, so he's starting to get in the structure now, and we may lose him. There is jam drones. Just a reminder, you see the jam effect on the Dead Terrorist Oneros. That means the jam is attempted, so he has a bunch of jam drones on him from the support. It doesn't mean the jam is necessarily successful, but it may have been there, and that's why the Ishtar did go down. Yeah,
I'm not sure that the Dead Terrorist side has the Mauluses for him, but I don't think that's such a great frigate for this type of setup because they are in the Ishtars, but if they were, only way this would have been effective to bring something in close was if it was a kite team, which we've only seen, I believe, one so far in the tournament. One kite team, actually two kite teams, Team Liquid and the I think the Uki team, Mildly Intoxicated.
So we did lose an Ishtar, and we're about to lose a second Ishtar. So now the base, the Dead Terrorist damage base, is actually getting eroded pretty badly. Third Cyclone about to drop for Heretic Nation as well. So this is actually a really close match still. Some support taking damage on Dead Terrorist side as well, with that Enyo getting pretty low. But he did get reps, but I don't know if the Oneros needs to be repping that Enyo. He needs to be saving that Ishtar that's about to drop.
I mean, it really seems like that Oneros is jammed. I think those ECM jams have been able to get a few successful locks. There you see reps on the Ishtar and as it goes down. I mean,
wow. I thought Dead Terrorists had this in the bag, but it's starting to look pretty bad for them. If this Ishtar drops, they really run out of... I mean, the Assault Frigs do fine DPS, but they're only taking up 3 slots. And outside of that, the Damnation doesn't really do anything, whereas Heretic Nation still has 3 really strong battle cruisers, you know, whatever 800 or 900 DPS out of the Slipners and a little less than that out of the Cyclone. They're really looking fine.
Yeah, I'm with you. I thought Dead Terrorist had this in a bag at the start there with that Ishtar pulling armor. But they got a few jams off on that Aneros, and they're just shedding their DPS here as each Ishtar dies. You still have the Tech 2 resistances left on the Slepners, and then you have one Cyclone left. So, I mean, they still have a lot of damage. Looks like the Dead Terrorist team is going for the Basilisk finally, but he's not taking any type of significant damage that his ASBI would he most likely has fitted, or definitely has fitted, I would say, won't be able to rep back up.
And that last remaining Ishtar running Ogre is now trying to get the Basilisk down. That's actually a really interesting dynamic. I wonder if we'll see more of in the 12-mans early in the match. There's so many ships on the field that burning through logistics reps is completely possible. You can not worry about targeting a Basilisk and actually kill Cyclones regardless of it, or lock it out with ECM. But late in the match, they really can't they can't kill another Cyclone with you know, a lot less DPS than they started with, because the Basilisk is too strong. So then they have to switch to actually taking the logistics out like you would usually expect. I wonder, I don't know, that's an interesting kind of result of going to 12-mans.
Well, I mean, you are seeing nude effects coming from the Damnation and the Ishtar onto the Basilisk, and I don't see any cap chains from the Basilisk, so he has to be fitting an injector to be able to keep cap to rep these ships. But like I said, the ASB is more than enough to rep this damage from the Enyo, Wolf, and the Curses, or Ishkur rather.
Yeah, I mean, they're able to put some pressure on him. If it stayed like this, if they were unable to kill this Ishtar, it's possible that during reload they would be able to kill the Basilisk. But I think they're going to be able to kill the Ishtar. It looks like their damage sort of subsided for a second, but maybe when the Oneros gets jammed again, or maybe just well, there you go. So, oh no, that was the Basilisk.
Well, the Basilisk did pop, but the Ishtar just went as well. So I mean, that's the last Ishtar. They're very low on DPS now, and these Slepners most likely have the ASBs fitted. So I mean, they do have that secondary tank for reps.
Wow, Enyo going down fast. We'll probably see these Frigs drop under the Slepner pair and Cyclone really quickly now without any, well, I mean, the Oneros is still there. It's possible that one of them can tank. The Enyo didn't, and that's a bad sign, but...
Well, I think this really came down to piloting. I think if that Oneros or one of the Ishtars would have burned out to that Oneros and smart bomb those drones off them, if the Ishtars had smart bombs, that this could have gone an incredibly different way, but they weren't able to get those ECM drones off that Oneros.
I just went and checked to make sure. It is ECM drones on the Oneros. Right now there's only 2 EC300s. The Oneros doesn't look like he's running ECCM, so those will get a jam every once in a while, but for the most part it shouldn't be a problem. It's likely that there was more of them earlier and that something came out and killed some of them or something. I can't imagine it was only 2 drones fielded for the entire team.
Well, the Enyo went down so fast because the Oneros didn't even have a lock on him, it looks like, because he wasn't able to get reps at all. But the Wolf is tanking a little bit better versus the autocannons from the Slepners and Cyclone.
Another interesting comes into play here. I would have expected, they fielded the Maulus, which, brings things closer with the Damps, I guess, or potentially locks out a logistics ship that's pretty far away. But other than that, they're really missing any kind of support E-War. They, some tracking disruptors might actually keep them in this match because it would make it difficult for the one Slepner that wasn't getting tracking disrupted to put out enough damage to battle the Oneros. But without any tracking disruption or any other kind of E-War other than the Damps, I can't imagine that the Slepners will have trouble here.
Even the Griffins. If Griffins could have stayed at range with the Oneros and just stayed out of the fight and get split jams off and taken out some of that DPS. But I think really the hero of this match is the ECM drones that were on the Oneros. Because these Ishtars were tanking fine until those jams went off on the Oneros.
Yeah, I wonder if that's true. I mean, it definitely looked like there was a lot of variation in the amount of tank the Ishtars were able to produce, and that's unusual and probably the result of E-War, so that does make sense. At this point, it's looking pretty comfortable. I don't know if these battlecruisers will have ASBs. They did have Basilisk support to begin with, but we've seen a lot of teams doing ASBs along with logistics support, so it doesn't look like they're having any trouble tanking the remaining DPS from the Dead Terrorist side.
Yeah, just these assault frigates just don't have enough DPS to break these Slepners and Cyclone. Like the Wolf did go down while we're talking, but the Ishkur is tanking pretty well for an assault frigate versus the autocannons. The autocannons don't have that hard of a time tracking these Ishkurs. They do track pretty well, but once that jam cycle comes off on the Oneros again, they're going to die again.
This is a fantastic match. This is another, at least the 3rd upset of the day. Team the way the matches are structured today, the team on the left came in from pre-qualifiers with better record or better results. They were ranked higher in the group, or ranked higher in the qualifiers than the team on the right. So Heretic Nation was the underdog here. Dead Terrorist, I was actually watching old matches from the AT today, and they've been here since at least AT6. I was watching an old match, and they've always been a really strong team. But from here, it doesn't look like they're going to be able to recover against this Heretic Nation team. You can see right now they're only 5 points behind. If they could like not lose a ship and manage to kill, the Stiletto's only 4. Is that right? So that still gives the win to Heretic Nation. They really have to kill a Cyclone, which is going to be really difficult for them to do with the tiny amount of DPS they still have on the field.
Yep, we're down to under 40 seconds left in the match. I don't think they're going to be able to finish these frigates off, just because with the jams drones off the Inaris, that they're actually able to keep reps. If Dead Terrorists, even if they would have sent maybe the Wolf or Enyo back to clear frigates off that Inaris, I think they could have saved this match. But we saw 2 Ishtars just drop back-to-back in succession just because it was jammed.
I didn't even realize, you know, if they didn't lose the Enyo Wolf, they would have won the match on points, right? They would have had another 6, putting them ahead by 1. So that's actually pretty crazy. Now it looks like they've got the Oniros locked down, and if the match would have gone longer, they probably would have been able to kill him. But that was quite the back and forth way to start the second half here.
Yeah, at one point in that match, I thought Dead Terrorists had it game over.
Yeah.
Then they just completely flipped. Like I said, ECM drones on the Naros is what settled this match.
Yeah, that's a pretty good one. So that's the end of it, and we'll go back to the studio. We'll see you guys later after Laz is done throwing stuff on the floor.
I'm very angry.